Many thanks for staying tuned. Now, over the weekend, the people of Edo State were at the polls to, decide who is going to lead them for the next 4 years. And the videos you just saw now were some of the irregularities that, that ensued during the election, the Edo governorship election on Saturday. We've also had the conference. We had the address of the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, who made his own, his reaction due to the irregularities that ensued during the election. Well, joining me this morning to have the conversation on the Edo governorship election is, Citizen O'Connor this morning. He is the Director General of Open Forum. Good morning, Citizen. Good to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I'm happy to be here with you.
Yeah, it's always a delight to have you on the show. Citizen, let's delve right into the conversation this morning. The weekend on Saturday, Edo people were at the polls to decide, their fate for the next 4 years or 8 years, depending. What is your take? I know you followed the election. What is your take on the election? And the result has been announced already. What is your take on the election that happened at Edo State during the weekend?
Thank you. The Edo election had given the impression that it was not a battle between political parties per se. It was rather a battle of ego between the political lords, or call it the godfathers of Edo State, knowing that with the exit of the man that had a very towering figure, talking about late Tony Aneni, who was during his time called Mr. Fix-It. He played national politics, and Edo State was just in his palms. With his exit, Oshomole, who was governor and eventually did his full term and was able to see the successor, tried to show that he is the godfather of Edo politics. But that was nipped in the bud in 2020, and it was very damning for him and his party. And the slogan that was the key campaign slogan for 2020 elections had to be Edo no be Lagos. So that also affected the image of the man that is today Nigeria's president. Asiwaju Bola Tinubu was the leader of the APC. He went to Edo to campaign for his party, because his party then denied the sitting governor ticket, who was and still is Obaseki. Obaseki had to move to PDP within a few days, and he got the ticket of the party and the support of the PDP, and they were able to beat the APC. And in the process, we look at the voting pattern, and it was very painful on Oshomole, who thereafter lost out in APC as the national chairman and became like an orphan. But with his winning the Senate seat and his being powerful in the APC, and the fact that you have Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, who was also wounded in the 2020 Edo election, his ego was bruised. This election was actually a penalty kick, because they had had 1-1 draw. So whoever emerged now will seem to be the champion. So there was a title belt at stake, and nothing mattered to the gladiators other than winning. So unfortunately, we did not see issues playing out during the election. What we saw majorly were personal attacks, some very careless statements, and some persons making allegations which turned out to be true, like the Obaseki and PDP accused Wike of having his cousin as a rep of Edo State. And then even the new police commissioner that was sent to Edo State was alleged to be a friend to Wike. And people will ask, what does Wike have to do with the Edo election? Wike has so much to do with the Edo election because in 2020, Wike was the spirit, the soul, and body of PDP. And he mobilized PDP to go and give support to Obaseki. And after the elections, Obaseki fell out with Wike in particular, including PDP. Because Dan Obi, the South-South Vice Chairman, is from Edo State. And with Shuaibu, who had been seen as a very strong factor in Edo politics, being a deputy governor, Shuaibu actually started the confrontation with PDP. I remember very well he used to accuse PDP of not allowing them, the APC, the campees, to have the structure of PDP. He was making a very bitter complaint that he is going to defect if they are not given opportunity to take over the party. So while they came to power through the grace of God and the PDP, both the governor and particularly Shuaibu started fighting the PDP until they fell out. So in Edo State, one could have carefully seen that the PDP was not in tune with the government in power, even though it was a PDP government. And the man behind the success of Obaseki, Wike, they had fallen out, and Wike is now serving an APC government and trying to maintain the structure of PDP, which is against PDP interests. The governors' forum is divided. You have some of the people supporting Wike's faction. Even the party is pro-Wike because the structure belongs to Wike. The interim acting national chairman, the secretary, they were all products of Wike, and that played a great role. So for me, that election, just concluded election, even though election is conducted in Nigeria in stages. They had passed the stage of going to the polls. We now have to prepare to go to court, and we have to imagine that definitely this kind of outcome may likely get to Supreme Court. It doesn't matter what anybody says about court. I am a proponent of people challenging what they feel is not right, as long as they have the facts. So, very interesting election, but I'm very happy about something that I didn't say happened. The level of insecurity in the build-up to that election did not manifest as insecurity to the level that we had a police officer that was killed. We had people being picked up as alleged by PDP, which was not disputed by even APC or the security agencies, that PDP members were picked up from Edo State and taken to Abuja, and they were afraid. That was why they could not sign the peace accord, because they did not see the confidence in the police. They did not see the confidence in the REC, who openly admitted that he is a cousin to Wike. And Wike also admitted that the Resident Electoral Commissioner is his first cousin, and that the man is even tougher than him. He said so. And that is it because Obaseki brought Igodalo to his house to request for his support, and he refused to support him. He now suddenly realized that the REC, who had been in the Edo State for about a year now, was his cousin. So there was no doubt that there is a blood relationship between Wike, who is against his party in Edo, having to do with the Edo election, and the man, the REC, also admitted. So if we say there could have been conflict of interest, because there's genuine reason to say, please, we have issues here, but INEC did not do anything about that. And then the security network in Edo State security network, was suspended by the federal government, by the police, that this very local security outfit cannot operate within this period. And that itself also raises a question. That group is not a legal group. It was enacted by law. It gives the impression that even if you have state police in future, when there's election, state police may be suspended for federal police to take over security arrangements. And you have over 35,000 policemen there, regardless of the military, and maybe we had the EFCC there, who may have over 40,000 security operatives there. And the state government and the PDP, who are the party in power, said clearly that they don't have confidence in the security, they don't have confidence in INEC, they don't have confidence over the process, and they did not sign the peace accord. Be that as it may, we've not heard of number of persons killed, and we know Edo State to have the image of having thugs, and some of them clearly, openly flaunt their prowess, that this is what they do. And successive leaders have maybe used them, and those that are not comfortable have destroyed, at least one of them that is very popular, had his properties destroyed here and there on reasons government felt, so we did not meet this and that and all of that. So I'm happy that bloodbath has been played down. What may have been the outcome is that, like the Edo agents at the final collations center said, when results were being given from local government by local government, he called results that were not favorable to PDP manufactured results. And how are these results manufactured? Maybe we'll look at just a typical case that is really trending, how people less than about 213 people were accredited voters, and they end up giving the APC 352 and PDP 52. Now, between the real registered, accredited voters, we have over 139 extra votes already added to the party that is said to have won, and that is particularly in Esako East local government area, Osholo Primary School, Osholo, which the results, believing that the original result is trending and is said to have been uploaded on the Beavers. Now, so those are the kind of the issues that.
Now, citizen, from all you've said, it's rather, looks kind of, it's rather appalling to hear, coming from a country that seems to be practicing a democratic system of government. And so, this is a threat to democracy in the country. If election is now a matter of personal interest, egos, you want to bruise another person's ego because you want to show a level of supremacy or a level of up-handedness. What will you say? Because a whole lot of things have been, a lot of irregularities have happened. What will you say about the transparency? Can we now trust INEC over? INEC would tell you that they do not have any candidates. It is the people's polls. It's the people that voted that actually results. Can we now trust the results coming from INEC that these are genuine? Can we actually depend on INEC at this level with what I've just, with the display of things that do this over the weekend?
Having to do with INEC, except for those who are beneficiaries of what they believe is what they wanted, INEC does not have the kind of image that Nigerians can go to sleep. That yes, everything else has gone bad in the country, we can fall back on INEC. INEC does not have that as we speak, because the outcome of the last general elections has showed that there was something fundamentally wrong with INEC, which they themselves admitted. For instance, clearly with circulars and from the publications put out as regulations towards the 2023 general election, what gave citizens hope was the fact that their vote was going to count. And how would votes count? The use of beavers, the introduction of beavers became the, it became the most appealing attraction to elections in the country. That beavers were used for accreditation, beavers were used to transmit results to the IREF real time, and so whatever result that is brought in from the field, if it does not tally with the number of accredited voters as recorded in the beavers, if results finally brought in with the hard copy result does not tally with what was transmitted, that result stands cancelled. And that this result will be displayed real time. So even the final collation center in this case, I had expected to see the IREF portal as those results were coming in. I don't know if others saw it. I have not seen it. I was on election duty on a sister station. That was why the voting was going on. And even while the result was being released yesterday, we had expected to see the display real time. So if that's not possible, what are we talking about? Two, the issue of, like what Governor Obaseki said, agents of political parties who are standing election are supposed to be there at the collation center. They are accredited. Every party, I think, has like one agent to be at the collation center. But when you find a situation where agents of certain parties are not allowed into a collation center, that automatically should nullify whatever is the outcome from that very collation center. And then, if you have basis to suspend collation, parties must be notified that we are suspending collation. Since the agents are also there to witness that it's been suspended, everybody will leave. And if that is not done, like Baseki said, he went there by about 1 o'clock, between 1 and 3 o'clock, and the security agents were there, and eventually they did not allow him in, and one thing led to another. It wasn't until 5 o'clock that the announcement of the official suspension of collation was made by INEC. And the fact that he called the resident electoral commissioner to ask why that was going on, if not get reply, that alone is questionable. All you need is just 1 minute to change figures or to change result sheets. So within a split second, because there are many ways to win election. It's not every time that people have to go and snatch ballot papers or murder people or drive away voters and do massive thumbprints. No. Without voters being accredited through the beavers, you are not captured. It doesn't matter the figures you put out, like I mentioned the case of Esako East Local Government Wepa Registration Unit, and the polling unit is Osholo Primary School, where they have the number of voters on register is 493, accredited voters 203, and a result that came out showed that the party that is said to have won had more than the total number of accredited voters. You can only do that kind of magic where you are dealing with animals, not human beings. And you can imagine that this must have happened in a number of polling units, which makes this very outcome, like I guess if I'm not wrong from my source, the PDP is said to have won with 291,677 votes as against PDP's 247,000. So we are looking at a very slight difference, which is, I think, in the region of, is it 40 something or thereabout 1,000 votes. That is very slim. But that also speaks to the voting pattern in Edo State. We need to give them that. Edo State voters are very sophisticated. Yes, I use that word with all sense of responsibility, because if you look at the 2016 general elections, which the threat was so high that the election was postponed from, I think, 10th of September to I think 28th of September, the voting pattern still between APC and PDP. APC had Obaseki, who succeeded Oshomole. He scored 319,483 votes. As against PDP Iyamu's 253,175 votes. You see the magic. And now you go to 2020, where these same individuals swap parties. Obaseki, who was an APC governorship incumbent, could not get ticket. He moved to PDP, and the PDP candidate in the 2016 election now moved to APC. And look at the score. APC, PDP won with 307,955 votes, while Iyamu, who became the APC candidate, having moved from PDP, had 223,619. And this very election, the margin is just like that. So what Edo politicians actually do is that even where you find rigging, they try to keep it numbers low. And with the kind of bad blood created, with the kind of You know, remember, Obaseki has said these elections they do or die affair, because if they lose, APC will not leave them alive. So if he actually, if he and his party, the PDP, had intelligence in all the units as they should have, it's a matter of collation of this, what they call manufactured goods, and then they will be able to look at where the figures do not tally. And it's going to be very interesting going, I won't go to court. You know, go to court has become a mantra now, which is very sad. And
okay, citizen, let's quickly look at the, you know, let's look at,
because
but
of where it came from. So, the integrity of INEC is still at stake. Very, very highly at stake. Like, just one clear example, which I've showed you.
All right, citizen. Now let's look at the effects, the ripple effect this is going to have on voters. I mean, in coming elections, we were expecting. I mean, just like what you've said, we were expecting voters' apathy during the Edo State election, but we didn't see that. People came out to vote, and there were riggings, and there were, you know, votes, money for votes. We had from different sources that, you know, APC was paying more and PDP was paying more. Now let's look at the threats to voter in coming election. If people could, you know, take out time. There was heavy downpour in Edo State in the morning before the election came out. I mean, the election started, but people actually ignored the weather and still went to the polls to vote, ensuring that, hoping that their votes will be counted. If this is the result of them going to the polls, let's look at future elections. Are we sure that election in Nigeria will be trusted? I mean, in the hands of INEC, are you sure that we are not going to be having voters' apathy? Or let's even look at 2027, coming 2027, with the result of what we are seeing right now.
Well, the outcome of the 2023 general elections has affected the fate of a number of Nigerians. And you can hear people call on radio to say they will never vote the rest of their lives. Why? Because of what they perceived, or what they saw, and what they know. A Edo State election is not a model. Not a model in any way to say all the due processes were observed. There were no controversies, founded controversies that going into the election. And when you also know that voter education is not supposed to be the responsibility of only INEC. Political parties are to engage more in voter education. Over 400 or so cancelled votes because the people did not know how to vote, and that came from rural areas. So those rural areas that political parties should be very interested in showing their supporters how to vote so that votes will not void. They don't care because some parties don't even rely on voters. In fact, the less people come out, the better for them, because you talked about vote buying. Yes, vote buying is real. Whoever wants to deny that is not true to himself and his God. So when political parties are making budget for vote buying, they look at the voter register. So you have 500. How many are people? Let's have extra money so that we can maybe buy for people our side. So when new people come out and they do their ballot box stuffing, the custodians of these funds go back, and some became millionaires from one single election, if not even billionaires. Remember, election in Nigeria, when you put all the figures spent by political parties on what they call security or voice and vote buying, it's in trillions. So a lot of money is spent, and the bulk of this money ends up in the pockets of even the people set out to disburse these monies. I've heard of cases where somebody was entrusted with money for security, and he ended up making away with it, and the person that gave the money wasn't comfortable. and they quarreled one thing, this, another, and that's history anyway. It's something that happened. So the confidence that Edo election has given us a model to follow is not there absolutely. Okay? Because the political parties were busy abusing themselves. Somebody, like Oshomole, was busy calling the wife of Obaseki barren.
Yeah.
Because the wife of Obaseki had said that when she presented the wife of Ikodalu, their candidate, he mentioned that the Ogwebolo is not married. In African culture, it is allowed to turn somebody by saying, go and marry. But you can never tell somebody, go and have a child. Because children are clearly from God. Even if all this new medical
I think there is a breach in the network. Okay.
That is.
I mean, we could see. I mean, we've gotten the conversation there. I mean, I just hope that the network, comes back clearly, so we can have the last conversation with citizen Matthew O'Connor this morning. We are actually looking at the outcome of the Edo governorship election, the irregularities that happen, and the truth is, with what we've seen, it's going to lead to. It looks like Nigerians do not really have trust again. We cannot. There is nothing independent about the Independent National Electoral Commission. There is nothing independent. I mean, that's the best way I can actually put that, because there's been a lot of influence with the outcome of the 2020 election, and we are seeing a replicate of what happened in the 2020 election also in a Edo State governorship election. So it looks like, there is a great influence of federal government on the Edo governorship election, but we just hope that we could have we could have citizens back, so we can look at the judicial aspect. Definitely, the two parties involved. I mean, the parties involved. PDP would definitely want to go to the court to appeal for this election result, and the question we want to ask is: will the court be the hope of the last man, of the poor man? Will the court be the court? Will the justice be served? Will we be able to get quality justice if at all we go to the court? If PDP alongside begin to appeal the outcome of this election, are we going to see the right judgments being delivered? But that's how much we can take on the on the Edo polls this morning. We'll take a quick breather right now, and when we come back, we will be delving into Akwa Ibom at 37. Today marks its 37th year since the creation of Akwa Ibom State, and so we are going to be having conversations around that subject of. We are going to be having conversation around that. So stay tuned and don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You know me well. Yeah. You know I must share money well. We are still going to fight further. Don't worry, we are with you. You will not walk alone. One thing I can show you is this. Do you want to go back? Yeah! As the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I will give the door back to you. And then we turn to a beautiful, if not more beautiful than Lagos, will be equal to Lagos. Be assured of that.
I believe that this is a turning point in the politics of Edo. This is a turning point in the politics of Edo State. The will of God has been done today. And I regard this day as a day of liberation.
You meant God's will.
Yes, I believe strongly that God's will has been done today in Edo State. And I also want you to know that the will of God for people is nothing but progress, happiness, joy, and prosperity. I believe strongly that the election of Edo, though very tense at the beginning, the outcome is a reflection of the confidence that Nigerians have continued to express in President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that his administration has made a mess on the ground, but they are doing their best to see how they can turn around the public of Nigeria. I want to tell you to remain patient and continue to support the president, support his administration, and know that yes, even like what has happened in Ido now, is a clear reflection of what will happen in Ondo in the next few by the grace of God. So I want to congratulate my brother, Senator Akwa, and congratulate the comrade governor and comrade senator for finally seeing the back of Obaseki. I know it was a worrisome thing for him. And I also want to recognize especially the stakeholders of Edo for their unflinching support for governor. Starting from the DG of the campaign, my brother Senator Orogide, and down to Yamu, and then most especially the Deputy Governor of Edo State today, who may be the one to hand over to you. I'm talking about Deputy Governor Tribal. Yes, of course. And then you see the Minister of Niger Delta is also here. My predecessor and all the other.
It's about 1 a.m. I got a report that coalition was supposed to have been moved to the INEC head office. I also got reports from our agents that PDP agents were not allowed into the coalition process. At that point in time, I called the REC to find explanation as to what was going on. There was no response. I then went to INEC to seek to meet with the REC to try and understand what steps the INEC was taking to continue the process of collation. When I got in there at about 2 a.m., I did not see any collation taking place. And the REC refused to come out to explain what the situation was. Subsequently, the DIG police, Frank Kumba, then came in and had a meeting with me where I explained that if INEC was postponing or stopped the collation process, then as part of their rules, they should inform the public or the citizens what next. As at 3 a.m., there was no information from INEC as to what was going on or what was going to happen next. It was subsequently after my insistence and meeting with Mr. Frank Kumba that INEC now released a statement at about 5 a.m. this morning informing the public that coalition process will start at 10 a.m. this morning. So my going there was essentially to obtain information from INEC because they had refused to put any information in the public domain as to what was going to happen with the coalition process. At about 1 a.m., I got a report that coalition was supposed to have been moved to the INEC head office. I also got reports from our agents that PDP agents were not allowed into the coalition process. At that point in time, I called the REC to find explanation as to what was going on. There was no response. I then went to INEC to seek to meet with the REC to try and understand what steps the INEC was taking to continue the process of collation. When I got in there at about 2 a.m., I did not see any collation taking place. And the REC refused to come out to explain what the situation was. Subsequently, the DIG police, Frank Kumba, then came in and had a meeting.
Many thanks for staying tuned. It is still Rise and Shine on Spectrum Television, and we're super excited to let you know that we're delving into the conversation to celebrate our state at 37, Akwa Ibom State. Now, over the past 36 years, Akwa Ibom has seen different levels of governance, and we are going to be going down history line to look at how far as a state we've coped over governance and development in the state. Well, joining me for the conversation this morning, I have in the studio, I have Mr. Marvel Essien, who is organization development consultant. So good to have you this morning. Welcome.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here.
All right, and online, I mean virtually, I also have Citizen Matthew O'Connor. Citizen, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here with you.
I think I can barely hear you. I don't know if you can.
I'm with you.
All right, citizens, we're done with the Edo conversation. We are going to be looking at Akwa Ibom 37 this period. So we would like to get your thoughts when time. But just stay on the call with us. And also later on the show, we are also going to be having Dan Chris ABA, who is in Lagos and into Nollywood. But let's start with let's start with you, Mr. Marvel. I mean, Akwa Ibom is 37, and we are all excited. All Akwa Ibom, I can see you're well represented here with your cap here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us, what is your take so far from the inception from the creation of the past 36 years? Because we are just clocking 37 years. What will you say are your thoughts about the level of governance in Akwa Ibom State?
Governance, yes, but you see, looking back at the creation of Akwa Ibom State and the joy it brought at the inception, you think about it from where we're coming from. You know, we had a state that was called Southeastern States, and at that time there was only 12 states in Nigeria. So we had Southeastern States. So imagine that they created more states to 19 states. And Southeastern States still remain the same geographical space that it used to be. Now, we were such a large state. Think of from Uyo to Obudu or Goja and all that being in one state. We clamored for the creation of this state. We appealed for the creation of this state. We struggled as a state. We struggled for the creation of this state. In fact, I remember one prominent Akwa Ibom indigene that prior to 1987 just made a statement that we have better priorities than creation of state. And the state went amok, and we disrupted his 70th birthday at that time.
Wow.
Soon after, General Ibrahim Babangida created Akwa Ibom State. So when you look at it, that a large geographical space like that was struggling in one space, then you think about the day it was created, the jubilation. Some of us that witnessed that jubilation, on that day, it was a great one. You saw people riding Okada, cyclists from Calabar to Uyo, carrying mock luggages up and down that they are moving. We are going back to our state.
Wow.
And it was such an excitement. Then we had Akwa Ibom State. At the inception, it was quite a struggle that we saw government processors struggling to have office space. There were barely no offices in Akwa Ibom State. Out their private residences for office use, and all sort of arrangements were put in place. The Barracks Road was congested in terms of the hotel that was there, Metropolitan Hotel at that time, that was there, was used up as a government space and so on. But you see, when you look back in the past 36 years, as we would say, you find that Akwa Ibom has really progressed in terms of the infrastructures that we have had in place. But beyond the infrastructures, even with the military regime that may not have achieved as much as the civilian regime have achieved in this state. You had that civilian stint sometime in 1992, 93, when General Ibrahim Babangida made himself a president, civilian president somehow, and we had a governor in the state that spent a very few months in office. We still had achievements during that time. If you're not just looking at the physical infrastructures that were created in those days, you also look at the soft skills that were developed. I mean, the paradigm shift that was experienced. You know, we had a state, for a growth to occur, whether it is an institution or it is a state or cultural areas, you know that many things contribute. Part of the three key things will be the technical aspect of it, growth. When you look at the technical, you think of the physical structures. When you look at the other side of it, like the soft skill side, look at the attitude of the people, look at the mental state of the people, you look at the power of the people, the world outlook of the world view of the people and how it can help them to grow. I remember a governor came to the state in the early times and began to preach about the Etuk syndrome, you know, thinking big, making the people to think big. I know another governor came in that direction and talked about us being prejudiced or something, sometimes stereotyped, to be seen as house helps, house boys, and began to change that orientation.
Yes, demolish and, you know, change that narrative.
That narrative about us being looked at in a particular way. Today we are highly respected in Nigeria. Today there is no space you enter as an Akwa Ibom person. You will hold your head.
And today we have the Senate President.
We
have the Senate President here.
Yes. So we've achieved so much in different areas. You talk about Nollywood. We have high-flying people in Nollywood. You have high-flying people in all aspects of the economy in Nigeria today. Akwa Ibom State has come through a lot. So when we look at the achievement, we're not just going to be looking at the infrastructural development, but in terms of the human capacity development that we have had as a state, coming from where we came from to where we are today. In between that, we have had a lot of growth. Every era, every government that has come to Akwa Ibom has had one or two things to contribute to the growth of Akwa Ibom, to have brought us to where we are today. Today, we may be complaining about the economy of the nation, but of course, we know that as a state, we cannot separate ourselves from what is the reality of ground. But the most important thing is for us to experience the kind of experience that we have had in terms of the environment we have created for ourselves. Could we have done better? Yes, we could have done better. But have we tried our very best? Yes, we have tried our very best. Are we, when we also want to speak, we want to look at it comparatively. On the day Akwa Ibom State was created, Katsina State was also created the same day. When you look at the speed of development between Katsina State and Akwa Ibom State, of course, it is very, very obvious that we are very, very far ahead. We have had things in place in Akwa Ibom State that we can look back and say, oh, we have done so well. Akwa Ibom State has become a place of tourism delight in Nigeria today. You look at the struggles that we used to have, having to travel to Port Harcourt or to Calabar to board a flight to other places in Nigeria or outside the country. But today we have airports in Akwa Ibom State. We are developing other facilities in Akwa Ibom State that was going to make us a very huge economic center in Nigeria. All right,
thank you very much, Mr. Marvel. Let me come to Citizen Matthew Okono. Are you still there? All right, Citizen, you know, Mr. Marvel has actually, you know, given us a background of where we are coming from. But I would like to ask you, the fight for the creation of Akwa Ibom State, has it been worth it in your assessment in terms of good governance? We've had different leaders at different times right from the creation of the state. Do you think the level of governance that we always, being alone, have we been able to achieve that for the past 36 years?
Thank you very much. I'm happy to see my brother there live in the studio. Looking back, I think we need to go far back beyond in the 60s when Southeastern State was created, and eventually when we had Cross River States and all of that to 1987. The history of state creation or agitation for state creation started from the people of Akwa Ibom, and that was far back as 1928, where we had the formation of the Libya Union, and about 1940 something, the agitation for state creation became very strong. They were the pioneers, and the name was changed to the Libya State Union. So what we have as a Akwa state, if it was to go in line with the agenda of our forebears, it would have been called the Libya State. And by the grace of God, talking about leadership, we have had the best quality of leadership in Nigeria. And in fact, we in Open Forum, we say that Akwa Ibom is Nigeria's capital of visionary leadership. Like Marvel said, we were created the same day with Katsina State. Besides federal projects, like Daura alone, because of the immediate past President Buhari, if you look at the number of projects in Daura alone, it's more than what some states have. But that does not translate to drawing traffic. For the Akwa Ibom State, our visionary leaders have put in place so much, and because our land is blessed with very peaceful people, the land is so blessed that irrespective of shortcomings, we are still seen as the most peaceful state and highly progressive. We are the center of tourism now because federal government, international agencies, they come here for their retreat. They come here for their AGMs and all of that. So we have been blessed with leaders, and I cannot fail to mention, even under the military, we had it on Ghana, very short stint, but the things he did still stands the test of time in terms of design, in terms of usability. And then the one that we all regard as the father of modern Akwa Ibom, who was able to lay a foundation with infrastructures that even the next 2 and 3 administrations will still be building on that. And we are sure by the grace of God that if we add what we call a long-term development plan, Akwa Ibom State will eventually, in our advocacy, be run as a country, and we can become a first world state in a third world country. Our development is top-notch, and we want to commend all our leaders for making contributions that has brought us this far. So we have really made progress, and we deserve to say, Father, thank you, and also thank you to our leaders.
I mean, you agree with me that he said we have made progress. A lot of people, he also made mention that, you know, Katsina State, comparing Katsina State and Akwa Ibom State. But let's look into, you know, you made mention of, there was this ideology, there was this narrative about Akwa Ibomites, you know, the house help notation.
Syndrome.
Yes, syndrome. Have we been able to fully eradicate that particular syndrome?
To a very large extent, we have eradicated that syndrome. We have brought so much respect to an average Akwa Ibom man. We have instituted programs in place. When we talk about these empowerment programs that various governments has come to put in place, it has diverted people's attention. These days, you wouldn't stay outside Akwa Ibom State. You wouldn't live in Lagos and say, send me a houseboy, a house girl from Akwa Ibom State. I would feel highly insulted if anybody should ask me for a help in that manner.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it has reduced to a very large extent. The government came and made it a rule, a law that promoted education in Akwa Ibom State in a manner that you would have all children of a certain age to be in school at a certain time. That is part of the things that were done by was done by government to see that we have been able to eradicate all that. So this free education program, recently you heard about the Governor Omoino sending children education trip to the UK for a program like that. That's an enlightenment program.
The exchange program,
paradigm shift. They're talking about understanding what happens in other regions and seeing what you can do in your region and changing your worldview. So that kind of trip has impacted so much, will impact so much on the average Akwa Ibom child as we roll on. So this education program in Akwa Ibom State on other policies of government in Akwa Ibom State has helped to a very large extent to reduce or eradicate that mentality, that stereotype of looking at Akwa Ibom State in a certain manner.
All right, thank you very much. Now let's move over to Citizen O'Connor. I want to ask you, because you've been one person who is key on accountability and good governance, but with the level of oil that we have in the state compared to development, do you think we would have done better? Do you think our resources, our natural resources, most especially the oil part, have we been able to manage it enough? The oil and the developments, are they synonymous? The level of development with the level of what we are getting as from oil in the state, do you think we've been able to utilize it enough to the development of the state?
I thank you for that question. It's a very important question for me and for our people. I have said this before, that Akwa State is giving to the national so much at a point we were said to be the highest contributors to the crude oil sales in the country. But about 2-3 years ago, I started saying that we are not getting the highest allocation. So I started querying, and the government then never ever responded. I said, why is Akwa now earning between the third, not even second? Edo and Rivers come first. Sometimes we are third in gaining in derivation, and nobody has answered that question till today. But on ground, as we speak, I have tried to talk with some persons in the industry to find out how many oil companies are working at Akwa, drilling and all these big-time oil testing companies. Nobody has been able to give me that information. I don't know why. The reality is that our oil wealth is not reflecting on our level of wealth as a people. It does not reflect in our IGR. As we speak, Cross River State has an IGR of between 23 or thereabout billion annually. Akwa State, over the years, has been struggling between 20-something and 30, and now maybe 30-something. While River State is making humongous money because the oil business in rivers impacts the people. So our oil wealth is not reflective of our prosperity. In fact, our people see politics as the oil. I'm told there are more non-indigenous working offshores. Most of these companies make use of non-indigenous. But our sons and daughters will have been working offshores and earning fabulously. Our oil wealth, by my estimation, does not reflect.
Okay, I think we're having a network glitch over there with citizen Matthew O'Connor this morning, and the question we are trying to ask and find out, yes, we are happy that we are growing as a state, we are happy that we are making development, but can this development be better? Are we feeling the real impact? I don't know what your thought is. I would like to direct that same question to you, the same question I asked Matthew O'Connor this morning.
Yes, my brother citizen was just laying a foundation to where he was going before the interruption of the network. I wish he had landed. But you see, it's very obvious in Akwa Ibom State that we could have done better. You remember the years of onshore, offshore dichotomy, and where we got from to get us to this 13% derivative that we are having today. But whatever impact we would have been able to derive from internally generated revenue from organizations that are here, or from derivation from federal allocation committees that should be coming to Akwa Ibom State. Whether it is fair or not is another story for another day completely. But what I understand by your question is that from the resources that we are having today, are we utilizing it efficiently and effectively? That would have to do with leadership of our state over the years. And as much as we would commend the governments over the years, we would also understand that, of course, these complexities of challenges that we would face, like you have a people, you need to balance things, bring people to a certain level to be able to make impact, or growth impact in an environment. If a leader is very knowledgeable in what he wants to do, you need to carry on and make sure you have everybody be at the same thing. But you see, politics has made it, in my opinion, to slow down things in Akwa Ibom State from what it should be. We look at it this way: the internal politics of political parties, the internal selection process of political parties. You look at it in terms of the kind of recruitment orientation that are given to politicians and those that are in control of the resources of the state as we may be having available to us. Now, when we look at all that, we now think to ourselves that if we say, could we have done better, it means that we should have had better hands. We should have had better competencies
Yes.
to manage these resources. And we would also appreciate the challenges that is standing against us with these competencies. Now, governments have come. Have they achieved much? Some governments have come and have achieved so much in terms of physical infrastructure. Some governments are building on the soft skills of the people, that is the human capacity development part of it. But at the end of the day, our electoral system, who we put in place and how we run the government matters a lot. We look at the kind of institutions that we are having, how strong is our legislative arm of government, how strong is the judiciary arm of government, and how strong is the executive arm of government. So you'll find out that over the years in Akwa Ibom State, you may have a very strong executive arm of government, but you have a very weak legislative arm of government. You would agree with me that in recent times, you hardly hear intellectual debates in the House of Assemblies. And these are things that are a prerequisite for growth in any community, in any environment.
So in other words, you feel that the government have not been intentional enough with the resources, and that's why we are seeing we are having these outcomes.
Government have not been intentional. The resources are available for us to use.
Yeah.
But the utilization of these resources.
Yeah, that's intentional I'm talking about. They've not used it at the right, appropriate manner.
Appropriately.
Yeah.
Because you need to set priorities.
Okay.
One man doesn't know it all. So if you have very strong leadership, the leadership will give a vision. When the leadership gives the vision, the lieutenants, the people assisting, for example, commissioners and those that are in the executive part, should be able to look at that vision and interpret that vision. Akwa Ibom State or any government is a large business. And if you have different aspects of a business, you would have competent hands in all these areas of running the business. For example, you say you have agriculture ministry, and the government says, oh, we want to make food to be sufficient for everyone in Akwa Ibom State. That is the vision of the governor. So what happens with the commissioner for agriculture? How is he going to interpret that? You say you want education for all. How is the commissioner for education interpreting that vision? Competencies in all this area matters a lot. But when a government comes, if the governor is very knowledgeable at what he wants to do and has lieutenants in place to accomplish these things, how is he selecting them? Is he selecting them through merit, or is it being influenced by political reasons or compensation, or just giving people appointments because they helped you to win a certain political unit for you and all that? So those are things that have been impacting on our governance to a very large extent. If we want to turn around on these things, then we need to pay attention into our electoral system. We need to also pay attention to promoting meritocracy in governance. If you are not recognizing merit in what you want to do, then we will not be able to achieve most. Akwa Ibom said, have we had good governance? Yes, we have. But could we have done better? Yes, we could have done better. Even the previous administration, we know how it was. This current administration, I heard in the news when you were discussing about ESCO, the current ESCO that is in place and all that. The government has spent this 16 months or thereabout in government and talking about changing ESCOs today. Of course, you would make better growth if you inject new blood into the system. And in injecting this new blood, not just any blood, look for good blood to inject into the system and see what you can get out of that system if you want to progress as a state. Are these people doing well? Yes, they are doing well. But they can. But innovation is part of life.
That's true.
If you don't introduce new things, there is no way you will keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. So if we set templates for ourselves, we set targets for ourselves, we have a vision and we want to interpret that vision, let us struggle to interpret that vision from all aspects, especially the human capacity side of it.
All right, Citizen, I see you back. I want to, take a cue from what Mr. Marvel just said, and that it was in the news. It was in the news that Pastor Moino is about to rejig his cabinet member. I want to ask, what's your take on the level of governance in Akwa Ibom State, whereby a new administration is, there's a transfer of cabinet of the former administration to a new administration. What's your take on that? And I would like to have your take. I know it's still in line with the anniversary conversation.
Yes, thank you. The statement by the governor that he was going to reject his cabinet.
Yes.
but I didn't expect him putting it that way because he inherited 100% of the cabinet of His Excellency, the former Governor Emmanuel.
Yes.
And a number of persons, including myself, had reservations about the quality, productivity of that team. Because by the time the team left, they left Akwa Ibom State with over 71% of multidimensionally poor people, which represents, by MPS data, 5.08 million Akwa Ibomites have been multidimensionally poor. And we are not the highest, or the third richest state in the country. That was an indictment. So to have adopted an EXCO that could not deliver was an error, but the governor was categorical. He said they were with him in the trenches, and he had understanding with them. He is honoring his own agreement, and that he will not hesitate to sack them if they don't deliver. And he went as far as having a summit. He went as far as taking all of them to Lagos for a retreat. I had expected that some of them would come back and do wonders. But as I speak, I have not seen that. The governor has been everywhere, almost like a sole administrator, because he has to, his hands have to be on everything. And recently, he said it in church, that he does not have confidence, does not trust his team, and he's having, and he's going to appoint advisors to help him deliver. That was a very strong statement. But
yeah.
When a king speaks, you must mind every word. Like this one he said yesterday, was it 2 days ago? He said some of them have been there from 3 administrations.
Yes.
In Akwa Ibom State, some commissioners are due for retirement and payment of pension and gratuity because to them it has become like a civil service work. Because why? Politics. They are the ones, during elections, they will now be given political roles to play while they are still in cabinet. By the time they finish, there's no other person to reward except the same people. If this is unacceptable, if you are in the system meaning that if you are not in government but you make contributions, you ask questions, you will discover that there are some offices where there are master plans that a commissioner will have used to help the governor to excel globally. They don't use it. Why? Because they don't want anything that will seem as if they have sense, they have ideas. Because you must show loyalty. Loyalty is whatever the governor says is right. Leadership recruitment is our problem. And I look for that 20 to office, he rewarded people that were within the trenches. Akwa Ibom people want results now. Forget about hyping. I've seen some persons hyping something they didn't even have facts about. I've corrected one of the aides, or whether it's a voluntary person, I don't know. Governor was somewhere doing something. He was hyping governor and mentioning a different location. I said, do you know what you're talking about? So it's not a matter of hyping. We are situation room people, and we want to help the governor, just like we want to help the president, by putting these conversations on the table. Most of the commissioners, in fact, one of them clearly said he doesn't want to be in a commissioner again. He was in the headlines, but he's still there. Why? Because let anything be. So I look forward to His Excellency picking his own team, and as a civil society person, we are there to constructively engage and bring things to the table, because some of us don't want appointments. We speak for the people. Unfortunately, there is a dichotomy. If you are not in government, you are seen as being outside government, because for now, even at national level, it's a matter of you are either in the system or outside the system. So it has become government versus the people, which should never be the case. But we are non-partisan, we are pro-people, and so we will bring the issues to the table, no matter whose ox is girl, because if a leader fails, he's not failing in his private business. He has failed with the people. If a leader sins, scripturally, spiritually, the sins of the leader is put on the people. So you don't allow a leader to sin. Don't allow a leader to fail. because majority will go down with the leader. That is the situation we are in. In fact, I did not expect that the governor will have been so open to say we cannot take them by surprise. We will do validation. It's not, but there should be elements of we put in place. But the governor has not done that. He has his own style. It's our responsibility to also say, Your Excellency, it can be done this way. And the new ones that are coming, let them not come from the same stock. They are people who may not even want to be in political parties, who are not even party people. But I tell you sincerely, they can stay outside the system and help the governor to succeed. It's not everybody they bring up. Like the advisor the governor said he was going to bring to help him.
Oh, network is really, dealing with us this morning. Network is really dealing with us this morning, but I know he was making, a very valid point.
Yes.
That back there. But let's quickly move. Now we've looked at government. We've looked at this conversation at government level. I would like us to come down to we, the people, right now. The people in heralding our culture, in heralding and promoting our state. So far, so good. 37 years. We are moving into. We just marked 37 years today. How have we helped the government, in policy implementation? How have we been the people? How have we joined in governance in this in these states? Because the truth is, there is no way. They say it's government of the people and for the people. There is no way we are going to, push all the blames to the government agencies. How about the people? Have we been instrumental in ensuring that we have a one goal? Have we been instrumental in ensuring that we have a big state as that we are all envisioning?
That's a very fundamental question. That question is the bane of our issues, because you judge leadership, the kind of leadership you have, like people will say, depends on the people, the kind of people you have. Produce the kind of leadership they want to produce. So on our own side, we look at the leadership, what the leadership is doing, and you want to put the blame. You say if you point a finger, the other is pointing back to you. And that's exactly how it is. We cannot sit down and always be saying, oh, we should have a better leadership, or leadership should be this or that. I feel as a people that the kind of cultural values that we have built over the years and how it has been eroding has impacted on us so much, because we came from a society where we upheld discipline and good value system in our society. Then modernization came and eroded most of these things. Now, you see, most of those things that were even driving discipline and honesty, integrity in the ways we were doing things, we seem to relegate them to the background. People think about religiosity, say, as a Christian you cannot do this, or as a Christian you cannot do that. And yet, these are value systems that we built from our traditional system that was really helping us in the past. Now, with modernity, we have civic responsibilities. How are we going about our civic responsibilities? Part of it is when you see on election day, people go to collect money to pass vote. Whose fault is that? The other day we were talking about the ecological funds. And I said to myself, the way these ecological funds even get to the state, and the state may even be distracted to use it for something else, like empowerment and so on. It trickles in. And when they call the amount an annual amount, it is something billion. And you begin to say, oh, how this such an amount coming in, it should have helped in this and that. But the reality is this: when you look at the ecology, the environment, the challenges that we have in our environment, how much money will solve some of the problems we really want to solve? How are we even setting our priorities when we want to do things? How much are we considering? What considerations do we have as a people? How are we helping the government? So you will see an obvious problem in a location because that location is not in your own area. You pay no attention to it, or you even distract government from thinking about it and think the project should be brought to your own side. You become sentimental about it. Otherwise, why would your village road, that dump site, be in that deplorable state? Why would you have a site like this, Spectrum TV is located, and the road is so terribly bad? If you talk about development, you think about where economic value should go to. A people should, clamor for it. The House Assembly should speak in one voice. Let us channel attention to this area. Let us channel attention to that area. House of Assembly is not about segmenting to say this is my constituency, that is my constituency. And inside that constituency, they even have clans that they will say, oh, concentrate in my own clan. So you go, when another person is elected, he will do it for his own part of it. That's not the view, that's not what it should be. So when we talk about the citizens' responsibility, we talk about government making roads and people being able to maintain the drainage systems around that road. People being committed to doing what they should be doing. Yeah. We talk about people set up businesses and you refuse to pay tax. Of course, you cannot always have an excuse to say, oh, I'm not going to pay tax because government has refused to build this road. Or because government has refused to that, I'm not going to also do my own responsibility. We all have responsibilities. Government has its own responsibility. People have their own responsibility. If the people are very responsible in their own side of the responsibility, it would force government to do theirs. And in selection, even in these governance issues, you will see that sometimes government do things just to please the people, and what they are what government may even be doing is not what they should have been doing. You remember, if you say you call up for people say, oh, I want this type of governance, or I want that type of governance, or you go to empower a people and you say, oh, I'm going to build schools for you, I'm going to build hospitals for you. Some people in that community may rise up to say, bring the money, let us share the money amongst ourselves. And that is the empowerment. Come, let us do it this way. If we can begin to change our attitude, then like people will say, your attitude determines your altitude. Yes. That is when we will grow as a people. So if we look at it and we begin to be blaming government, the other day I hate Governor Moino say, every day you come and say, build the youth, build the youth. How much more? The youth should also build themselves. Yeah. So youth should also be thinking of building themselves. So you come, you say, government, do this for me. What skills do you have? How about you promoting yourself and making sure that you have the requisite skills for opportunities? If opportunities come, you know how to your skills would be utilized. You go into government and you are in a lower part of government. How are you helping the upper part of the government? How objective are you in the decisions or in the contributions you are making to government for governance? So these are issues that we should know as a people, that it is not always about the people that we have elected into place, but it is about us. We should demand accountability from the people. Yeah. We should, from government, we should demand accountability. We should also demand transparency. And it is our own attitude that will determine what level of accountability and what level of transparency that we would have from government. If you want to do something and you always expect that, come, let us hold meetings, if you understand how these political meetings are held, and you say, come, this one will fall. Come and give out money for this, give out money, transportation money, and all that. If you put those monies together, it could help in other infrastructure that would be even more economically beneficial than distributing the monies the way the new culture that we are now building around.
Well, Mr. Marvel, you've made mention, I mean, one of the things I could pick up from that place that we need to go back to our value system, which is very, very important. That if you have gone back to our value system of instilling discipline, I'm not sure the routes we are gradually having, we will have them. I don't know if Citizen is still there. I would like to just ask Citizen one more question, and then we close. Citizen, are you there? Okay, I think he's off the call. Yeah. Okay, Citizen, good to have you. I mean, quickly before we round off, let us look at culture and heritage of Akwa Ibom. How do we instill that in the younger generation? 37 years after, a lot of people are losing values, are losing the cultures of Akwa Ibom. How can we bring this, that it is sustained, that the children of in next 50, 100 years will still pay attention to our cultural system?
That culture of honesty, integrity, that even encouraged boy, that people would trust the Akwa Ibom man to say, go and be my driver, go and be my cook.
Exactly. And how do we encourage the language, also language,
Yeah.
Network should allow citizens now.
The culture, like Marvel said, it's not just in our dwelling, in our food and all that. The culture is who we are.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The network is really against us this morning. We are trying to have that conversation with Citizen, but I mean, it's 4 minutes to the hour of 9 o'clock, and unfortunately, this is where we will have to, close up this conversation this morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Marvel Essien, for making our time to be here and talk about Akwa Ibom at 37. Yeah. We look forward to having conversations like this that will help grow Akwa Ibom State beyond governance and other, so we could have, conversations like this that could get us involved in development, infrastructure, and otherwise. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Ime, and thank you for bringing Citizen on board. I've not seen him for a long time.
Okay.
I respect his bluntness.
Then I think you should pay me for doing that. And also, thank you very much, Citizen O'Connor, who is the founder of Open Forum. He has been on the show right from when we were looking at Edo polls and also looking at Akwa Ibom at 37. Thank you very much, Citizen O'Connor. We'll do this again tomorrow. My name is Ime Emmanuel. Thank you very much for staying tuned. Let's do this again tomorrow. Do have a beautiful day and enjoy the rest of the program. Bye.